And we continue with the John Phillips Show, this Fix California Hour, on Talk Radio 790 KABC, broadcasting live from the Morongo Casino Resort and Spa Living Room Studios, where it's always good to be in the bonus. Mr. Randy Wang's at the sports desk in Culver City.
John, this year has been full of sentences that I never thought I would say, including this one. Pascucci for Senate?
Claudia Pascucci is a reporter.
Christina Pascucci.
Excuse me. Christina Pascucci is a reporter over at Fox 11.
That's right. She was at KTLA for like a decade. She moved to Channel 11 last year. She was the field reporter on Good Day LA, and apparently she quit. She's pregnant, and she's running for Senate.
Okay. There are a lot of people who, after broadcast news retires them, run for office. Very few leave a job in broadcast news to run for office.
On a successful morning show, it said, you know what? I'm going to go run for the Senate.
This is unusual. And here's something. I don't know if she factored this into the equation, but she's running against at least three sitting members of Congress who all have millions of dollars in the bank, and then a Republican who is a baseball star and well-known in L.A. and San Diego.
Not really sure what the end goal is of this campaign, but it's going to be fun to watch. With now Garvey in and Pascucci in, we're getting real close to California recall 2003 levels of circus.
Well, if Gary Coleman was still alive, you think he'd be in?
Definitely.
How about Mary Carey? She's still with us.
She tried to run in the recall in 2021. She did better than most.
That's right. And as a porn star and an exotic dancer, I thought she had some very interesting ideas on how to deal with state government. For example, fixing the California budget shortfall with crisp new $1 bills. 800-222-KABC is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. It is a pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. He is a prosecutor and the vice president of the Los Angeles Association of Deputy District Attorneys and a candidate for L.A. District Attorney running against George Gascon. You can get him online at eric4da.com and follow him on Twitter at Eric Siddall. Eric Siddall, welcome.
Hey, how are you? That last reporting was great. I feel like you were almost reporting on the DA's race since we have about 10 people running as well. So
it's going to be hard to cut through the noise. Let's start with the news that came out of San Francisco yesterday, because I think this is significant, and I think that this is good news, where the incumbent district attorney who assumed that office after the successful recall of the Soros DA, Chesa Boudin, came out very strongly in favor of repealing Prop 47. She said that as DA, she is handcuffed at ensuring public safety unless and until Prop 47 is taken off the books. Do you believe that this will be something that catches fire across the state and other DAs, other electeds, other people who are trying to ensure public safety do what Brooke Jenkins is doing, or do you think this is going to be one and done?
You know, I have said this for a while. I don't think Prop 47 is the biggest problem that we're facing. The problem is that we're not in Los Angeles. The problem is that we're not prosecuting cases. We're not using the available arsenal of laws that we have right now to be able to prosecute the right cases, quality of life crimes. We're not taking an aggressive position on smash and grabs. I mean, these are cases that you could charge using the penal code that are not affected by Prop 47. So, unfortunately, Prop 47 people use that as the target because it's an easy target, but in Los Angeles, we have another problem. We have a DA who refuses to actually use the laws of the state of California and to hold people accountable. That's the problem that we have here. So I don't want to get distracted and start talking about Prop 47 when The real problem is we have a chief prosecutor in L.A. County who refuses to hold people accountable.
Okay, just to be clear, though, if given the opportunity, would you vote to repeal Prop 47?
I would vote to alter things about Prop 47. I would change it so that if you're a habitual thief, you are treated differently than the first-time thief. That, I think, needs to be changed and reformed. But overall, I don't think I've ever really had any issues with some of the changes with Prop 47. My biggest concern has always been that there's no way of you could steal once and you could steal 500 times and you're treated the same in the system right now. That needs to change. It should be if you are a habitual thief, you're treated differently than a first-time offender.
Okay, I don't think we're on the same page on this one. I think that what you're saying is if you get rid of Gascon, you get rid of the problem. But if the law does not allow the district attorney to keep repeat offenders, to keep people who clearly don't have respect for the law in prison for long periods of time, then it's just going to be a revolving door, and we may change the personnel in the office, but you don't change the degree of public safety that exists in the community.
Well, I think we also have to look at what is the issue here, right? Like Prop 47 doesn't affect smash and grabs. Smash and grab is not about Prop 47. Smash and grabs are essentially robberies. They're organized conspiracy robberies, and they have to be, and you can charge them as a felon right now if you wanted to. You just have to have the willpower to do that, or the will to do that, and this current DA won't do that. So I don't think that I do not think that we need to get rid of Prop 47. I think we need to modify certain portions of Prop 47, and that has to do with habitual offenders.
Okay, let's play Brooke Jenkins, and you tell me where she's wrong.
This is Brooke Jenkins talking about the problems with Prop 47 at the Public Safety Town Hall in San Francisco last night.
I would say that is the most problematic, and it really is. It is also the problem of, again, having every single misdemeanor crime, like I said, with really maybe 3 or 4 exceptions, automatically by statute be eligible for diversion. It puts us in a bind when we're trying to say, hey, this person is a repeat offender or has more egregious conduct, and therefore we don't believe they're suitable. But particularly for stores that sell items that are of lesser value, like a Safeway. Imagine how many carts of groceries you'd have to steal in order to hit a felony level of $950 from a store like Safeway. It would probably be 3 carts. Nobody's walking out with 3 carts. So every crime that's committed here is a misdemeanor, and they're just not seeing an ability to effectively deal with that.
Where is she wrong?
Well, I think she's talking about the same thing I'm talking about, which is the habitual offender, right? And that's the problem, is that if you are an habitual offender, in other words, you do this 3 or 4 times, you should be treated differently and should not be a misdemeanor at that point. It should be a felony. So I don't think there's that much difference.
She's saying Prop 47 won't let her put those people in prison.
Right. So that's why you need to modify it. You modify the language so that you can actually prosecute people who do multiple thefts differently than you would a first-time offender. And so I think that is a modification, not a complete repeal of Prop 47.
Okay. How are you different than Gascon?
Well, first of all, I believe that criminals should be held accountable. I would use allegations. I would use the gang allegation, for example. I think the gang allegation has a purpose in our penal code, and that is to treat organized or semi-disorganized crime differently. I think gangs pose a real danger to the community, and Mr. Gascon clearly doesn't, because he won't allow us to use the gang allegation. And I think the other major problem with Gascon is he's absolutely incompetent. He hasn't done a good job in terms of running this office. He has redirected our precious resources to political projects that he has instead of doing the day-to-day job, which is keeping the public safe. And I think your budget tells you where your values are. And when you start diverting resources away from public safety to political projects that have nothing to do with the core mission of this office, that is extremely problematic.
Do you support the death penalty?
I do not think that it is a deterrent, and I do not think it is a punishment. And there is there's actually no effective death penalty in California at this point because there is no death chamber. So I do not see the purpose of seeking death on cases. I just recently tried a murder of an LAPD officer, and we convicted him of special circumstance murder. And the only reason that case occurred in 1983, it was tried in 1985. It was retried because it was overturned in 2000, and we retried it again in 2023. And the only reason why we're at that stage of retrying it 2 additional times other than the original time is because of the death penalty. So I ask you this. If the death penalty is supposed to be a punishment or it's supposed to be a deterrent, it fails on both fronts. So then why use it?
Do you support closing Men's Central Jail?
No, I do not. I think that is an incredibly foolish decision by certain members of the board. We do not need to lose the 5,000 bed capacity of Men's Central Jail.
Do you believe in no cash bail?
Bail is the law of the state of California. It is the only way you can put people in custody, so you have to have cash bail. It is, if you don't, it means an automatic release of anyone who you're not asking bail for. So that's the law. That's the way we do it in California, and that's the way it has to be done.
Do you believe our jails in the county of Los Angeles should cooperate with immigration and customs enforcement?
I believe that the current state of the law of California is how it should be, and that it's limited to violent felons.
So that's a no.
No, I don't believe it on every level. No, I don't.
Do you believe in gun enhancements on crimes?
1,000%.
The district attorney of Los Angeles County did not apply for state grant money that would be used to fight retail theft. If elected district attorney, would you have applied for those funds?
Well, I think I actually sent the press release that broke that story. So, yes, 100%. And that's when I'm talking about how he's incompetent, this is what I mean, okay? This is $2 million of easy money that was available through Governor Newsom. We didn't apply. We didn't apply in this office because we didn't even know about it. When I sent out my press release, there was a reporter who asked Gascon about it. Gascon said that money was only available for police, and that was it. It was not available for prosecutors. I then told the reporter, well, then maybe you should look at the title of the grant because it literally says vertical prosecution of organized retail theft. So I'm not sure if Mr. Gascon doesn't know what prosecution is, which is very likely, considering how he governs this office. But yes, so to answer your question, I would have absolutely applied for that grant. And the only reason he didn't apply for the grant is because he didn't even know about it.
Gavin Newsom appointed George Gascon to be DA in San Francisco and supported him when he ran for DA in Los Angeles because he believed that he is the man most qualified for the job. Do you support Gavin Newsom?
I do. I voted for Gavin Newsom. I do support Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom was wrong when it came to George Gascon.
Eric Siddall, prosecutor, vice president of the L.A. Association of Deputy District Attorneys, candidate for L.A. County District Attorney. You can find him online at eric4da.com and follow him on Twitter at Eric Siddall. Eric Siddall, thanks so much for stopping by.
Hey, thanks so much. Bye.
All right. You heard from Eric Siddall, candidate for District Attorney. I want to get your reaction to it at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, the email is blowing up.
There's a lot of people that have a lot of reactions to the interview you just conducted with LA County District Attorney candidate Eric Siddall.
I have to admit, that interview went in a direction I was not expecting it to go in.
Typically, those interviews, they go a certain way, and it's a lot of Gascon bashing and what we would do to fix Los Angeles County, and it took a left turn right at the beginning.
Yes, it did. The argument is essentially we need to switch the personnel in that office, and if you switch the personnel, then you'll fix the problem. But he essentially agrees with Gascon on 47. He essentially agrees with Gascon on the death penalty. He mostly agrees with Gascon on kicking ICE out of the jails. And he still supports Gavin Newsom, even after Gavin Newsom appointed George Gascon to be the district attorney.
And if it was just a personnel thing, then we wouldn't have issues where Riverside tries to put away a serial burglar and he gets time served in jail, or Brooke Jenkins trying to go after people, but the laws are stacked against her.
Yes, we have good personnel in other counties. Riverside, San Bernardino, Orange, San Francisco now. And the results are maybe not as bad as L.A. because they're not malicious, but they can't do their job. So if you don't fix Prop 47, I don't know how you bring public safety back to California, but that's apparently some place where he and I disagree. Randy, if you want to listen to the podcast of that interview, that is easy to do.
I'll have it posted at about 2 o'clock, but you go to KABC.com, click on podcasts, go to the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify, search for The John Phillips Show, hit subscribe, or download the KABC app. Search KABC AM in the Apple App Store, the Android Store, the best, most clutter-free way to listen live to this station on the stream whenever you're outside the AM radio listening area, and the best place to download podcasts of this show.
Quite frankly,
it's Woo Wednesday.
Ric Flair.
It's Woo Wednesday, yeah, baby. Woo, 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 woo.
And Randy, that means tomorrow is Throwback Thursday.
That's right, and we're doing a little different this time. It's all through the email. If you got a suggestion for a great Throwback Thursday theme, we've had a ton of them come in already. At 2:30, we're going to pick one of them. Email us at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Since so many people try to email and they can't get in on the phones, we're trying it through the email this week. And so far, there's a lot of great suggestions, and there's a lot of very inappropriate suggestions. But either way, send the email, and you might get picked to choose all the music for Throwback Thursday.
All right. If you want to weigh in on that interview that we just did with Eric Siddall, candidate for district attorney in Los Angeles County, give us a call at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. We just had a conversation with Eric Siddall, candidate for district attorney here in Los Angeles County, and it took a turn that I wasn't expecting it to take. So first of all, just to paint a picture, I'm a little under the weather, if you can't tell from my voice. Got a little fever going on. Got a little throat thing going on. Got a little congestion thing going on. So I can't really hear that well right now, among other subjects. And I thought, okay, this is a district attorney, deputy DA, running for DA. We'll throw out the news of the day regarding public safety in California, which today came from San Francisco and involved Prop 47. I thought, okay, that's an easy putt. And when he came out and made it very clear that he did not take the same position as Brooke Jenkins, I thought to myself, okay, what we're dealing with here is George Gascon light. So this is where I think it's going. Let me just ask questions to find out if I'm on the right track or if I'm hearing something that's not there. And as I was asking questions about all of the relevant subjects to that office, it became clear to me he would be better than George Gascon, but he would be better marginally. If you're a DA and you don't support getting rid of Prop 47, you don't support the death penalty, and you think Gavin Newsom has been good for public safety, then you're not the guy for the job. I'm sorry, especially when you have as many options as we have. But it's good to hear from all of the candidates so we know where they stand, we know what policies they would implement, and we know what we're dealing with. Because I think part of the problem last time around was that the presidential election sucked up all the oxygen in the room and no one paid attention to Gascon. We can't make that same mistake twice. All right, now it's your turn. What's your reaction to the interview that you just heard at 800-222-KABC? Let's begin with Roy in West L.A. Roy, you're on KABC. Hello.
Thank you, John. I appreciated the questions you asked. They were very direct and pointed. It allowed me to cross that man's name off of the list of the 10 or so people who are running. I couldn't believe I didn't hear him mention anything about the daily occurrence. When you go to a CVS, when you go to a Ralph's, when you go to a 99-cent store and they're stealing, walking out the door. I know it's Prop 47, the DA in San Francisco who replaced the other DA explicitly said that, and he had no comeback to what she said. I mean, remember it was Beretta, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. It just doesn't make any sense. There are people, because of the jaywalking law being repealed, the homeless people by the Beverly Center will stand in the street and block your car until you give them money. I live in West L.A. I don't want to go to Ralph's when the sun goes down. It's just insane.
Thank you for the call, sir. I appreciate it. Let's go to Alan in Calabasas. Alan, you're on KABC. Hello.
Hi, how are you? I actually thought that you were doing a parody when you were talking to this guy. I couldn't believe it. He's going to run on saying that basically things are okay and he's Gascon light. I mean, it's mayhem out there. Right by us, Home Depot, 2 of them robbed in 2 days. By my gym, car break-ins, robberies. In Ventura anymore without being fully armed. It's like a demilitarized zone. Is this guy kidding? I mean, the left clearly has something wrong with them.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Your connection is bad, but we got the point. Thank you.
Crime is getting so bad in Los Angeles, thieves just stole his reception.
Yeah, thieves over at T-Mobile. Let's go to Morris in Los Angeles. Morris, you're on KABC. Welcome.
Yes, this fool for an attorney made a mistake coming on your show. This is exactly what we do not want for representation. With him around, crime is going to increase even more. Nothing is going to change. California is in bad shape as it is. And I don't know if any of this attorney is really going to make any change. Well, I haven't heard nothing yet. So we'll just have to wait and see. But this is the wrong candidate that came on your show. And he needs to call you and apologize to you and apologize to the audience for making a fool out of himself.
Well, he doesn't need to like me. He just needs to come on and tell the voters what he thinks, and they can certainly decide his fate. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Andrew in Ladera Heights. Andrew, you're on KABC. Welcome.
This guy isn't George Gascon light. He is George Gascon 2.0. He would just be a repeat. So I just made the website. I'm kidding. I don't know how to make websites. But I would just make the website, ericnotforda.com. That's all.
That's great.
If you do make the website, just make sure you pay the fees. Otherwise, if you don't pay the fees, someone else will, and they'll take your website and send it over to Cambodian porn sites. I think that's what happened to mine.
Say that's fine. I'll be fine. Gascon won't criminalize that. He won't prosecute that. I'll let the Cambodians have their dollar or their yen or whatever it is. I just thought of the Walk Like Egyptian song. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you for the call. I appreciate it.
It's been a while since I've heard of someone that wanted to buy a domain name for spite, and I'm here for it.
Let's go to Anthony in Northridge. Anthony, you're on KABC.
Hi, John. Hi, Randy. Last time I called the show, Randy was just hosting because you were out. But anyway, this guy's just another hack. I mean, this is my opinion. It's your show, but wasting time with Democrats, it's a waste of time. This guy won't be anything different. He looks like he just wants a power grab, and he's acting like he's different from Gascon. But it's a waste.
All right. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Mark in Huntington Beach. Mark, you're on KABC. Hello. Mark, are you there?
Mark, are you on mute?
Going once, going twice. No Mark. Let's go to Kevin in Bellflower. Kevin, you're on KABC.
Yeah, good afternoon, John and Randy. I'm a retired DA. I actually went back to work part-time because of the mess that Gascon had made the office. So they actually hired a bunch of retired DAs back to try to help. Siddall is not the answer. I mean, he's been a good DA, but the bottom line is people got to remember that Gascon, appointed by Newsom, was one of the people who really pushed Prop 47 with those advertisements. And Prop 47, the killer, reducing all the drug crimes down to misdemeanors. No one's going to go to any kind of treatment when they can take a jail sentence and then end up only serving less than 1/10 of the time. And taking away petty theft with a prior was just a license to steal. But it's not just Gascon and Newsom; it's also the judges, and the judges are appointed by Newsom. And there's no way we can keep a governor like that, or let's say Rob Bonta runs. We can have Rob Bonta as a governor because that'll just be Newsom plus.
Why do you think he was hesitant to go after 47? Because other DAs in California are doing it quite aggressively, both Republican and Democrat, from the north to south, yet he was extremely hesitant to say anything critical about repealing Prop 47 as a whole.
Well, he has a D after his name. There's going to be a certain group of people he wants to get support from that maybe don't want Gascon, but also don't want to have a more stringent and hardline DA. But our county is in such a position right now, that's exactly what we need. We need a hardline DA to go with a hardline sheriff, a hardline chief of police in our agencies. I mean, getting rid of Villanueva was a mistake. Maybe he caused some problems, but that was a man who wanted to enforce the law.
What's the frustration level right now among your colleagues?
Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. Going back, it was bad when I left and retired last year. But going back, you see despair. It's knowing that things aren't going to get any better under Gascon. And he's taken it to such a level. I mean, Siddall was right about one thing. Look at the budget. We're actually paying in the DA's office for training by a group called the Prosecutors Alliance, which is doing nothing but pushing woke, pro-criminal, pro-defendant garbage down the throats of DAs. We've lost most of the really good trainers we've had. They don't really want to send any DAs to training by CDAA because they're still, a pro-prosecution group, the California District Attorneys Association. And it's just we have so many that are leaving because they can't handle just the stupidity of the office, the way it's being run.
Well, I'll tell you, I believe what likely happened with him is what we're seeing with candidates for office all over California. There are consultants that are telling them, do not say law and order. Do not say lock them up. Do not say prison time. Do not say any of that. If you say that, you're going to look like you are not compassionate. You're going to look like you're racist. You're going to look like you're classist. What you have to say is accountability, which means absolutely nothing. Let people project on that whatever they want. Say accountability. support whatever it is that the voters pass, even if it's awful for public safety, and just leave it at that?
Well, that could be part of it. But again, like I said, part of the problem is just with the judges. I mean, I handled a case just today working from home of a guy who got caught in a stolen car. He was out with bench warrants out him for a felony, being in a stolen car, and for a misdemeanor, being in a stolen car. Before we could get the case filed, they had already given him diversion on the misdemeanor from 2 years ago, even though he had failed to appear on bench warrants multiple times, and they reduced the other felony case to a misdemeanor. Now, that's not sending anyone a message other than it's a get-out-of-free jail card. There's no punishment. And we've got to get back to an era where there is punishment. Accountability means nothing. We've got to get back to an era of punishment.
Accountability means they check the box. Punishment means you're correcting their behavior.
Or at least you are sanctioning them for their behavior. You're not going to correct a lot of these people's behavior. It's too ingrained in them to commit crimes. That's the only lifestyle they know. That is their lifestyle. So the only thing you can do is punish them, sanction them for their behavior, because they are affecting the lives and the lifestyles of the rest of us.
Thank you so much for the call, sir, and thank you for your service in what I know has to be a very difficult job right now with this leadership. We are taking your calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your reaction to the interview that we just conducted with candidate for District Attorney Eric Siddall. Let's begin with Deborah in Pasadena. Deborah, you're on KABC. Welcome.
Hi, John. How are you today?
Good.
Good. He needs to stay home. That's number one. We don't need another Gascon. And, there's people use statistics to make themselves look better. I get 90. You said earlier 90% of his cases he wins. But what about saying how many cases weren't prosecuted and using that as why you want a new person? You want more crimes that are committed, prosecuted, and people punished. But if people don't know those statistics, they hear the lies, they won't know how to get rid of them, or they should get rid of them. And that's my thoughts.
And the decision is even just taken out of the hands of the DA if you know that the laws don't work in your favor. If you
and the police don't want to do it.
Right.
Nobody wants to do it.
Everyone at every level knows that the state law is stacked against law and order. So if you're a shopkeeper and someone steals from your shop and you know that going through the hoops is just going to result in a lot of your time wasted and nothing happening, maybe you don't even call 911. And let's say, okay, so a certain number of people fall off there and they don't even call 911. The cops are totally depressed because the cops know that nothing is likely to happen if they do something about it. They know that if they try to arrest a suspect and they get hurt or they make an allegation of some kind of discrimination, that cop could have their career impacted. So the cops don't want to do anything. So a certain number of them are going to fall off. And let's say the cops actually show up. Well, then the district attorney's office has to decide if they're going to even bother with moving forward because they know that the judges don't want to do anything with it. They know that the state law doesn't want them to do anything with it. Okay, so a certain number of them are going to fall off. And then you got the judges. The judges probably figure, why bother with some kind of severe sentence if I know the person's not even going to actually do any time? So a certain percentage of them are going to fall off. You can you can appoint better judges. You can select better DAs. You can motivate police officers to go out and do all they can in their shift. You can motivate people to report all crime to 911. But ultimately, if the state law fails, it doesn't matter if everyone else does what they're supposed to do. That is original sin.
And you go back to something I think is very important. It needs to be taught a lot earlier. When you're much younger than I, but if I did something wrong, there was a consequence for that wrong action. Immediate consequence to my wrong action. And you learn that, and then you make better decisions. But as a small child, if you're not being taught consequences, you're going to go into life thinking there are no consequences for my bad actions. And that is what it feels like where we are right now. Children not being taught a consequence for their actions, and there's just more crime. And maybe we see it more because it's on television and you're bombarded with it. But I do feel that there's a moral code that we have let slip.
You're 100% right. Great logic. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Rommel in Ontario. Rommel, you're on KABC. Welcome.
Hey, John, I don't understand where these DAs get off differentiating between first-time offenders and 3 or 4-time offenders. The theme I hear from everybody, and I totally agree, is accountability. If you do the crime, you do the time. That's why you think after one time they get a slap on the wrist, they're not going to do it again? I mean, there shouldn't be any difference between a first-time offender and a 15-time offender. Go to jail. Make them think about doing it again the next time. Otherwise, it's just going to be the same thing. And then also policing by the color of your skin, that's a bunch of BS. I don't, I'm a Hispanic, and I don't care if it's a Hispanic, black, white. They shouldn't be any differentiate between races, and they shouldn't be given special treatment because they are a special race, black or brown or whatever, because they're underprivileged or whatever. That's just a bunch of hogwash. So I don't know what the fix is. Like you said, maybe repeal 47. But then again, I think if these laws come out and they're misnamed or they're worded differently to trick the public into voting for them, someone should sue so they word it correctly. I mean, that's
the title and summary is written by the Attorney General, which means that next time around, all of the titles and summaries are going to be written by Rob Bonta. So we're all in trouble. Thank you for the call, sir. I appreciate it. We've got one more hour coming up on the John Phillips Show right here on Talk Radio 790 KABC.
Every type of leadership is about meeting the moment and rising to the occasion, and this is what's required. And so we're stepping up and getting it done.